Hi, this is Tiffanie Travels, where we help women and families travel, build wealth, and live richer. So today I'm super excited. I know I say that like every week that I'm super excited, but this week we have a guest and they are living in Italy, which is my favorite place. So I'm super excited to have them and I'm going to bring them on here now. Hi.
Hey
Hey,
y'all.
So we could start by you introducing yourself and telling us about your travel channel and what you guys do, where you are.
Yeah, that's great. So, hi, thanks for having us. I'm Courtney Orjas, my husband Justin, and for the past almost 3 years, we have been traveling nomadically. So, we're a full-time travel family. We have two little kids. Our daughter's almost three, and our son is like 5.5. And we are currently in Italy, Tuscany, to be specific, with Boundless Life.
Amazing. So you started off in Mexico City. And why did you pick Mexico City?
So we started off originally in Guadalajara. So we were in Mexico, but we were in the second largest city. So Guadalajara, Mexico is where we started our travel journey.
Uh-huh.
And I would say we chose Mexico because for a few reasons, like proximity to the United States, Spanish. Courtney already knew some Spanish, some familiarity. And then there's a large population of Americans already living there. So like we were making connections online before we moved there, and it was just an easy transition for us.
Okay, Mexico, and then now Italy. So why did you pick Italy to move to?
So Italy is where we are now. It is kind of temporary, but we are going to be here for 3 months through the Boundless Life program. So we decided this year, after spending over a year in Mexico, that we were ready to leave and just continue our nomadic travel journey. So we haven't like set down roots anywhere specifically. But we just once we found Boundless and we decided that we were going to try Boundless as an educational program and travel world school program, that Italy would be a great cohort for us because we've never been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having lived all over the place, it sort of turns into a thing of like, where do we want to live next? Where do we want to go next? And I think something that was appealing about Italy is almost like silly as it sounds. It's just like we'd never been before. So any chance I get to go somewhere I've never been before, I'm 100% on board. And Italy sounded like such a dream.
Okay. So when you guys were looking into Italy, was it because of the Boundless Life program, or did you look at the program first and then look at the destinations that they had?
Yeah. So our lease was running up in Mexico, and we were in a place where it's like, where are we going to go next? And trying to decide between doing what we'd done in Mexico City, which was to sit down somewhere and put the kids in school and maybe find a lease versus, just go full nomad and jump from place to place. We did a lot of that in 2023 and it was very exhausting. So we were kind of looking for a happy medium, which is why I started looking into Boundless in the first place. And when you get on the website, it's exciting, but it's also kind of like, wow, there's a lot out here. There's like Greece and like Bali, and you kind of have to, orient yourself right around what actually makes sense. And we were between Qatar, Montenegro, and Italy. And I think Italy just had that draw, you know what I mean? Like you say Italy to anyone, and it sort of just conjures like a certain image and a certain feel. And so we decided to go with that. And the kids love pizza. So
Uh-huh.
once we ran it past them, it was sort of, a done deal. I was like, this
Yeah.
is where pizza was invented. And they were immediately on board.
Yeah, not to mention like Italy is a large country with a lot of major cities to see. So we've thought, okay, if we do Boundless in Tuscany, we can also see Rome. We can go to Naples, to Sicily, all the major cities. And then it's just a great jumping off point if we wanted to like go to Africa or if we wanted to go further out east, right? Like, so I don't know. We were ready to like leave the Americas and explore parts of Europe and potentially Africa for our next journey.
Okay. So tell us about the visa process in each place, like going to Mexico for a year plus. How was the visa like there? And then with Boundless, Do they help you with the visa process? How does that work?
Yeah. So one of the nice things about Mexico, for us being US citizens, is that you can get 6 months just off of tourism. So going through the residency process and all of that, it's not super complicated. We know a lot of people that have done that. But for us, because we've been in and out, we lived in Playa, Guadalajara, Mexico City, and Tulum, we did a lot of moving through Mexico. We went with just the 6 month option as opposed to pursuing like the 2 year residency option. And then we've been other places like Colombia, which will give you 90 days. And then Brazil, I think it's about the same, even though they do. Yeah, it's 90 days. And I think that's 180 days within a calendar year. And then Brazil also, they have their digital nomad visa and things like that. So for the EU, it's 90 days as well, right? 90 days here. Just because we're off tourism. So the cohort that we're a part of is for 3 months. So it is that exact 90-day period. Boundless, they don't facilitate any sort of visa, anything, just because for most people that 3 month cohort fits within the regular just tourism visa. But the nice thing is that it's a community of people that travel and nomad and network. So if you were pursuing residency or you did need visa assistance in one of these countries, there's someone in the community that's done it and can help you out and get you connected with anyone that you need to get connected with to facilitate the process.
Okay, so you just did the travel visas and they were pretty easy being with you both have the American passports. So
Right.
was there one of you who was more reluctant to starting this journey? Because sometimes with single travelers, it's just them. You're like, I can go wherever I want. But with a couple, sometimes there might be one person that just wants to stay in the US or is hesitant or thinks, it's dangerous to travel with kids, especially too. Or were you guys like on the same page?
That's a good question. I think we both still go back and forth with it. So I am much more prone to like being like, hey, like let's find our new home. Like where do we want to live? Like indefinitely. And I think once we made the decision to leave the US, that was pretty simple for us. I'm from Canada, actually, originally. So I grew up in Toronto. Courtney was kind of just tired of the US anyway. So I think both of us were ready to leave. But I thought maybe we could just live in Mexico next to the beach forever. And we could travel whenever we wanted to or whenever we could, right? But Courtney was much more like, no, let's be like nomads. I want to see the entire world. And I'm just like, all right, like let's figure out how to make that happen.
But I know. The nice thing is we were on the same page with the important stuff, right? So I'm like, hey, let's just leave and go live elsewhere. And Justin's like, okay, yeah, let's draw out like a 3 to 5 year plan. And I'm like, you have 6 months. So we actually moved the timeline up. We left when Whitley, our youngest, was like 10 weeks old. Like she wasn't even 4 months yet. Or not even 3 months yet, geez. Yeah. But I think we've sort of gone back and forth with a little bit of a push and pull of like, let's sit down and, sign a lease and really like slow travel versus, hey, let's kind of like boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, we hit 3 countries over the span of, 3 or 4 months. And honestly, we're still sort of figuring out where our happy medium with that is, especially as the kids grow and their needs change and making sure that regardless of, what we want to do, we're putting what's best for them first. But I wouldn't say either of us were, reluctant or hesitant. I think we've really approached it in a way of like, we're just going to move in a way that feels right for our family. And if we need to slow down, if we need to speed up, if we need to, switch continents, we just figure out how to make that work.
Yeah, I think also like it's difficult when we have so many options and decisions to make because the more cities and countries we visit, the more we're just like, I could see myself living here. So in the beginning, I wanted to live like somewhere tropical next to the beach, right? And Courtney's like, no, I want like metropolitan city life. And then, you reversed. You're like, no, I want to be next to the beach. And
I'm like, I want to be in a jungle.
And I'm like, I'm tired of the bugs. So like, I don't know. I think when you are making the decision to find your new home and be an expat or to leave permanently, you don't want to like settle in the wrong place. And then you feel like you just made a mistake, right? So I feel like we've still just been traveling to find really like what is it that we want and what is it that the kids need as we travel.
Okay. And so tell us about your experience with Boundless. I looked into it on their website and they said certain cities you can secure your own accommodations. And so did you guys secure your own or was it part of the program?
No, so we got ours through Boundless. So we are in a Boundless accommodation, and it's actually interesting because our building, I'd say 5 or 6 of the families in this building are in this building, and like we're all in it together. So like our neighbors are right here. There's people below us, but there's also like 2 other buildings that they also have access to. So I think some of the families did get their own housing. They found it through like
a short-term rental
short-term rental
site or something.
sites. So it is flexible, and we're really happy with the housing. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is. And it's so neat being in the building. Like Xavier immediately hit it off with another kid that's in his class. And then it was like the next day or like the second day, come to find out that kid literally lives like right across the hall. So now in the evenings, they're just running back and forth and sharing toys. And there's like a courtyard where we'll meet up with the other families and everyone hangs out. And it's really nice. It's cool.
That kind of has like a college feel to it. Like you're in one building and you see the same people all the time. And it's like, this is like your group, your cohort that you're interacting with. So that's pretty cool to live and go to school with the same people. That's an opportunity. I don't think, unless you're in boarding school, that's not an opportunity that you hear people talk about.
Yeah, it feels like boarding school, and like in the mornings we're all walking to school together most days, and we've gotten, after a couple weeks, we're comfortable enough to be like, hey, can you like watch my kid for a second? I have to like run to the store, or like, we're all walking together. Can you hold my kid's hand? Like, so it really like is a community, and like I feel like within a few days or up to like a few weeks, everyone gets comfortable with each other.
Yeah, because living a lifestyle like this, I think one of the questions that we get so frequently and that I think parents have concern about, right, is like, but, what about friends and what about people that understand? And, how do you find like-minded people that want to, travel around the world with their kids in tow? It sounds like such a nutty thing to do, but when you're just dropped into a location with people that are just already on that vibe, already on that wavelength, it just makes it so much easier to connect with them and to understand them.
Okay. And then, so tell us about the educational piece, because I know they have a couple of different programs. They have the 3-month program and a summer program and a December program. So I looked into it. I think the summer program didn't have as much academics. It was like arts and museums, but the 3-month program has English lessons. And then, so tell us about, both of your kids go or just your older one?
Yeah, so they're both in the program. It's based on the Finnish education system, and then also it's Montessori inspired. So Whitley is in one classroom because she's almost 3, so it's like the youngest class, and then Xavier's in another classroom, and then there are like, I think 1 or 2 other classrooms of like older kids. I think it goes up to like 9 or something like that, for the Explorers program. And so they're doing everything. They're doing phonics, they're doing math, they're working on like cooperative community building skills. Like they have the whole setup. They actually have a field trip tomorrow where they're actually taking the train and like going to a museum, and it's a whole thing. And so it's very much, it is school. We have an app on our phone where at the end of the day, the teachers send, pictures and tell us what they're working on, and all of that stuff, which is great, right? For the shorter cohorts, which I think are labeled the getaways on the website, I think those are more so for people who are like, oh, I'd have to take PTO for this, or we don't want to commit to 3 months, right? Understandably so. And so I think of that one more as like a camp. And then I also believe for the older kids, like the preteens and teenagers, they have 3-month cohorts, and they even have like a 9-month option for continuity, where you go to different locations and you're kind of like with the same families or with the same kids. So it's more of like an actual like school year, right? Like a year abroad, right? For these 14, 13-year-olds that are taking, and their academics are, I believe, a little more, I don't want to say like serious, but they're a little more formal, right? In the way that they're educated, as far as them having actual like projects and lesson plans and things like that.
Okay, so we have some people who have joined. I'm going to put your YouTube channel here, O Family Adventures, so they can see your travels to Mexico and to Italy. So you mentioned the different classes. I wanted to know, are they by age the way they are here? Because you would think with a cohort, there may not be enough kids of the same age to have like only an age-based class. So how do they do this? Is it like groups of age, like 3 to 5 kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's the same way that Montessori classrooms are set up, where you'll have, I want to say it's like 18 months to 3 years
Yeah,
is like what
that's
it
one of
is.
these
And then
classes.
after that, I think it goes from like 3 to like 6. And so it's bracketed off. So that way too, you have the older kids that can kind of teach the younger kids, and the younger kids that like play with the older kids, but they're in cohorts. And then the other thing is that prior to arrival, they do like educational surveys and interviews, right? To make sure that they know where your kids are and what their needs are. They explain the whole educational process to you. And then also, I think, taking into account when we were considering the Couture cohort, the one in Montenegro, one of the things that we were told is like, actually, for your kids, ages and whatnot, there are going to be more kids in the Tuscany location, like for their class. So that may be a better fit for y'all. So there's also that sort of advisory piece that goes along there if you are flexible with the destination that you want to choose.
And in your cohort, where are some of the other families from? And does everyone speak English?
Yeah, they're mostly from the United States. I would say there's 2, or no, there's 3 European
There's
families.
the US, Canada, Turkey, Germany,
Germany.
Switzerland, Russia. I think that's it.
Yeah, but it's like 1 from Turkey, 1 family from Russia.
Yeah.
And yeah, they all speak English. And so I was surprised at how big the cohorts are for each
Yeah.
location for each time of the year. So like even January to, what are we doing? January to April
March.
to March.
Yeah.
Like it's winter in Tuscany. I didn't think that many people would sign up. There's like 20 families here.
Yeah. Okay. That is a big group.
Yeah.
Nice. Interesting. And so what appealed to you about Boundless?
I think honestly, the ease that it provides, like we literally are in our 3rd year of figuring out where we're going to go, where we're going to stay, who's going to watch the kids, how we're going to keep up with their education and also work at the same time. And all of those things that pop up, right? When people say, I want to travel more, I want to live abroad, I want to do this, I want to do that. But, what about this? What about that? And it's really nice for once to just have all of that taken care of for us. If I'm honest, like it's really nice to be able to just show up. And like Justin said, like the apartment is beautiful. It's set up for kids. There's everything from a potty chair to a high chair to, step stools. They have their rooms. The education's taken care of. The teachers are great. So it's really just the ease that it facilitates so that we can just land comfortably and then sort of just sit back and like really enjoy Italy and get to know people.
What about if you want to have like a date night? Do they have babysitting services available?
Yeah, they do by the hour, at an additional cost, but it's reasonable. So we could do date nights, and then since we are pretty much dropping the kids off in the morning, we don't start work till the afternoon. We can have day dates too.
Yeah, we popped down to
There's no
Florence
dates.
and did a cooking class like yesterday. And we've hit like some restaurants where we can just eat in peace and silence while the kids are at school. So Yeah, it's been really nice. And then also the community lead organized like an aperitivo, so like tapas and drinks for the parents while they set up a movie night for the kids at the hub too. So there are lots of options to be able to spend time together.
You said aperitivo, so clean.
Aperitivo, I know. I'm in Italy, babe. Ciao bello.
Yes. So switching back to Mexico, tell us about your cost of living there.
Yeah. So this recent time living in Mexico City, we had a 3-bedroom apartment. It was 1,700 US a month.
Oh, it went down.
Roundabout. Well, yeah, it actually went down.
15,
So
yeah.
because we are paying in pesos, so when you are looking for an apartment, most of the time you're going to be paying in Mexican currency. So it started at like 1,700 a month. By the end of the year, it was down to like 1,500 a month.
Okay.
And so this is a 3-bedroom in a nice, safe part of the city, walkable. We had like a grocery store nearby, walking distance. The school was in walking distance.
Fully furnished.
Yeah, it was fully furnished.
Dryer.
And so that was really like our biggest expense, and then schooling. So we did pay for private school, and that was about 1,100 a month for both kids. So in total, our expenses monthly were like 2,600 a month for school and housing.
Okay. And then the school in Mexico City, did that have language, Spanish language included?
Yeah, so it was a bilingual school, which was nice because all the teachers and the staff and everyone spoke English. So we were able to communicate with them perfectly, and also making sure that the kids could as well. But then also, like Whitley would.
Sorry. My phone rings to my laptop because it's an iPad, it's a Mac.
Yeah.
So it's connected. So even if it's on silent, it like rings to my laptop.
Yeah. But that was really neat because, again, we could understand them, they could understand us. And that's where the kids were picking up a lot of Spanish. So frequently Whitley would come home from school and she's walking around like just talking in Spanglish, sometimes, yelling in Spanglish and singing her Spanish songs. So yeah, anytime we do look for education, because Xavier was in school as well in Guadalajara, and we made sure that it was a bilingual program.
Okay. And you saw the impact, the Spanish language.
Yeah, which is neat.
So tell us about healthcare in both places. Like, how did you handle healthcare in Mexico City, and then healthcare in Italy? Is it included in the Boundless Life services? How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, so this is one thing that's not included. So in Mexico, we had a primary care physician for the kids. We didn't really need to go to the doctor, thankfully.
Oh, I did.
I know, yeah, you did. You went to a dermatologist. Yeah. And so we paid out of pocket for all of this. So a typical checkup in Mexico, it was about $20 US. I think for your dermatologist, a specialist, what,
it was
50?
Like 45. Yeah, it's 45, 50. Is not expensive.
Yeah, so no insurance. And then we do have digital nomad insurance. Insurance, it's through Safety Wing. And that would cover us for emergencies. So if somebody broke a bone and we had to go to the doctor and we needed like a specialist and we were going to be in the hospital for a while, that would cover for how many countries? It's like they're trying to do it worldwide. So it covers most of them, most countries.
Most of the ones we'd be going to.
Around the world. We do Safety Wing, and that's like monthly that we just pay separately.
Okay. And well, that's really cool. Like $40 for a specialist outside of insurance. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. We, I think that's one thing that's interesting too. Like people talk about, medical tourism, right? Just because healthcare services are typically so much cheaper abroad. And that's really been our experience. Like, I think from Mexico, you went to the doctor in Brazil.
I got my wisdom teeth pulled in Mexico.
Oh yeah, you did. You got your wisdom teeth
pulled for like, it was like $350, $400. And then I brought Xavier into the same dentist, and like the care that they give to me, to the children, like it was really, really top tier. Like they just treat you like you are an actual like patient. Like they ask you, they ask for like your opinions, your feedback. Like I don't get that with the doctors in the US where they just are like, here's a prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the medical care is a lot more holistic, and it's a lot more like there's a lot more communication back and forth. And yeah, they took out my teeth.
Even the pediatrician was really great. I was impressed because the pediatrician even with what it was like, hey, like I have to check your heartbeat. Is it okay if I, lift your shirt up? Like, are you all right? Like explaining what they're doing and all of that. I've been really impressed with all the medical care we've received abroad.
Good. All right. And let's see here. So you both were working in the tech industry in Atlanta before you went to Mexico. And then are you still with those remote jobs, or do you have new jobs, or how did that all work while you're doing this nomad life?
Yeah. So I started a new job last year. But I don't know. I think one thing that we've learned to appreciate and to seek out as we've been traveling and we've been on this journey is the flexibility. Flexibility around time, around PTO, flexibility around just having a good company culture, around remote work. And so I haven't had any issues. The job that I just received, I was going through the interview process, and one of the interviewers was like, "Are you the Courtney Orshas that I saw in the CNN article?" And I was like, "Oh my God," And I kind of panicked. I was like, "Oh no, they know I'm digital nomading." And mid me having a panic attack, they're like, "I just think that's so cool," and I was like, "Oh, good, pressure's off." So I think we've gotten to a point where we've really learned that we need to seek and embrace opportunities that fit into our lifestyle instead of trying to, fix our lifestyle around opportunities that just aren't aligned with us.
Yeah. And like so we've pretty much stayed in tech this whole time, but we have changed companies that we work for. Again, to Courtney's point, the ones that fit around the lifestyle, because we've had experiences where companies are like, hey, we want you back in Atlanta, back in the office. And I've even traveled back and forth for a little bit. Like I was going from Mexico City to Atlanta just to show up in the office. And we've gotten to a point where it's like, that's not how we want to set up our life. Right. So yeah, like we found our good rhythm just being in the tech space though.
Okay. So how has your quality of life improved as a result of this nomadic life?
We spend more time together as a family. I think that's the first thing. And also, I'll say my mental health is better. It just is. Being in, Georgia and specifically like north of Atlanta, right in Forsyth County, there's just it's a lot. Going to the grocery store is a lot. Seeing campaign signs during elections, it's a lot. Certain people, certain colored hats walking around all the time, it's a lot. And I think that, when you're abroad, it's not that there aren't things happening and the news is still the news and the headlines are still there. But I personally have a feeling of, I just have a little bit more peace, right? Being removed from that a little bit. And I don't know, it just gives you this like breathing room. And I think the other thing is it's easy to forget how big and beautiful the world is when you're not out there in it. When you're sort of stuck in like a suburban bubble and you're kind of looking around at the same buildings and the same four walls all the time. So I function best when I have a sense of inspiration and there's newness and new experiences and there's something to learn and new things to see. And traveling like we do definitely just provides that for me in a way where I'm able to, I don't know, sort of just be a better version of myself than I think I am when I'm stagnant one place for too long.
Yeah. I think like quality of life abroad, I've seen, depending on where we are, like we've seen our health improve. So I know in South America, specifically Colombia and Brazil, like we were eating so much healthier, fresher foods, less processed foods. I lost 20 pounds just like living in South America.
Just living.
Within, what was that, 2 or 3 months, right? It just like fell off. And then here in Italy too, like the food, every time we come to Europe, like the food is so much, you could tell it's just so much fresher, so much healthier.
Yeah.
Like we love walking to this little grocery store up the street and like we're cooking and eating the same stuff, like salmon, chicken, pasta, pizza, but like you can tell it's not having that same effect that it did in the States. And then the other thing is just raising Black kids, raising Black children. Like we're not worried about like police brutality, really. We're not really worried about them being stopped or a Karen calling the police on them or something happening because of some vigilante in the neighborhood.
They're safe in the schools.
Yeah, like they're taken care of, and even for them not to be like in Atlanta, like they're a majority, right? Like Atlanta is a very Black city, but you still have to worry so much about their safety. Whereas abroad, like they may not be the majority, they may still be a minority, but they just care about children in general. So that fear has just been removed too.
Yeah, so just all around overall, like less stress in multiple areas, like food, education, just lifestyle, just less stress. So do you feel like you have more help with the kids than you would have in the US?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
No, before we moved, Justin's parents and my mom and my sister were all within like a 15-minute drive of us. And if I'm honest, that's one of the things that I miss the most is just being able to like call my mom stressed out, being like, come get these kids, and she's on the way and there in 30 minutes. Which, I think that's probably one of the things I miss the most. But I also really appreciate how, like Justin just said, the people that we encounter, like when we were in Mexico, I'm trying to eat and the kids are tussling and, a waitress will come over and just like scoop Whitley out of my arms, like walk around taking orders with her so I can finish my meal. Like random strangers are like laughing and entertaining the kids, while we can do something. And we've noticed that certain places really just have good infrastructure for children that makes being out and about in public and running errands and doing things with them so much easier. So it's not necessarily, in the US, there are more hands and more eyes to help out with them. But I think we found that abroad, that like family-friendly infrastructure that just supports us being able to raise our kids and be out and about with them is so much better.
Yeah. And we're trying to convince friends and family to just come wherever we are, which they have. Like
we've been successful.
My parents are coming to Italy for a week. Our parents have both come to Mexico to visit us. We've had friends visit us in Mexico. So
my mom flew to London.
Yeah, it's like, all right, let me send you the details of where we are. And if you can come out here for as much time as you can, like, let's do that. So we're trying to convince them to also get in on the lifestyle.
Yeah. So you said that abroad it's set up for family infrastructure. What would be an example of that?
Free
stroller. Yeah. Oh, jinx. Yeah, I think, free stroller rentals at the airport, that's obviously one of the things that we noticed like in the very beginning. And even them having special security lines for, families, right? So they're not dumping the kids water and yelling at you to take your shoes off. They're like, hey, it's already stressful traveling with kids. Let's make this better for them.
Yeah. Priority for pregnant women. Like you were pregnant in Portugal. Everyone just moved out the way. It was like, let Courtney go to the front of the line at the grocery store.
I know. One woman put her hand on my arm and another man put his hand. They were like herding me to like the front of the line because we don't speak Portuguese.
Yeah. Even on trains. So they have in most countries, Mexico City specifically, they have a great train system. They have women and children cars in the front. And like, I think it was Caleb. Caleb tried to get on with his wife and his child. And they were like, no, this is for women and children only. Like, and they mean that. Like they really are just like, they prioritize kids and family.
Even the way that they set up restaurants. Like there's like Karen's Pizza and the ones that have like these play spaces and little soft play areas that are, right within eye distance. Or here in Europe, they have like the little plazas. There were a lot of those. Where's that? Is that Madrid? They have like the little plazas where like the restaurants are all sort of like surrounding this like open area for the kids, where they'll have like a little gym set up.
Yeah.
Even in Brazil, they have like, what's the word? Play structures like on the beach, like in the sand, like right there. So it's easier to parent kids abroad. That's been my experience, at least.
That makes sense. I do experience the airport aspect of getting pulled out of the line, whenever I'm with my daughter, just for ease. So yeah, I do see that as well. So tell us about the culture in Mexico from your perspective, and the culture in Italy.
Oh, Mexico is warmer just all around. So like, and that was one thing that caught us off guard coming to Italy.
Yeah.
So like in Mexico, it's very much like, come on, like I want to get to know you. Like, we love having tourists here. We love having foreigners here. And random strangers will just strike up a conversation with you. When you walk into a shop, it's like, hello, how are you? And in Italy and in Europe in general, they're very cold. Like it's very like,
parts of Europe
they're very straightforward.
Yeah,
they're very straightforward.
They have more of I don't know. It's not that it's less inviting, because it's not to say like, for instance, I know that the people in like Amsterdam, like I've heard from Americans that they think that the people in like Northern Europe are very rude, and they're not. They're just, they don't do small talk, right? They don't do casual. They're not just going to like chat to you for no reason. And I think that it's always interesting when we move between continents, because we have to sort of like recalibrate that. So like Justin's saying, in Mexico and even a lot of like Latin America, like it's very warm. It's very, come here. They hear you speaking English. They're excited. Like, oh, I know a little English, and it's very friendly. And I think here, one of the main differences that I've noticed is sort of like, if you talk to people, it's for, a reason, right? We don't feel as much of that pull to casual conversation, that pull to small talk, that, oh, where are you from? Oh, I've been there. There's not too much of that.
Yeah.
But I do think there are some similarities. Like I was getting my nails done the other day, and I was talking to the nail tech. She speaks English, and all of a sudden, Bad Bunny came on. For anyone who doesn't know, the Puerto Rican, he's a reggaeton artist, so it's Spanish music. And she's bopping along to Bad Bunny, and I'm bopping along to Bad Bunny, and we're like singing Bad Bunny together, because Spanish and Italian are also just very close languages, right? They have similar words, and they share a lot of the words. And so we're both just like sitting there, like singing along to like Bad Bunny together. And I think that's one of those moments where like the root or like the heart or like the similarities in a culture, there's like a lot of crossover. So I think that was really sweet. But also I think we just know Mexico so much better as well, while we're still sort of exploring and getting to know Italy. But I definitely see some differences. I definitely see some similarities.
So what part of Colombia were you in? You said you were there for like 2-3 months.
We were mostly in Medellin, and then we did Bogota for like 2 weeks.
Don't say it with contempt. I love Bogota.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I love Bogota. He was on Team Medellin. I was on Team Bogota, but they are both lovely places.
Was it in the wintertime? Was it cold? Is that what happened?
Bogota is, I don't even know what it's like.
There
in the
was
winter.
a little rain.
It's
gray.
It's all year round. It's gray and it's rainy. And then the city to me just wasn't as pretty as, like, Medellin is a very pretty city.
Medellin's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bogota was nice. We didn't spend that much time there, but it's their capital city, and there's more for like business, and Medellin was more like a Miami type of vibe.
Yeah, I did like Medellin. I think the thing is the hills really took me out. Medellin was so hilly. And so we're doing a lot of walking, and we're also like pushing the stroller.
Yeah.
And I think when we flew into Medellin, I had my hair pressed. I'd just gotten it pressed in Atlanta because I think it was what was it, like February or something?
Yeah.
And like day 2, we got to Medellin. I was like, let me just go ahead and wash it. Let me I tap out now with the hills plus the heat. I don't think there was really any humidity though, which was nice.
Yeah, Medellin was, and I think the reason why we just were like, no, it wasn't as family friendly. I think it felt more, at least where we stayed, more like a party city. And so we were like, Colombia is great. We know a family who's living in Colombia with their family.
Oh yeah, they love it.
And they love it. So it's a really cool, those 2 cities are really cool, but I would go back, but I don't know. It just didn't call us.
It wasn't the one for long term.
Yeah.
Okay, so your travels abroad, have you experienced any racism or any discrimination in these Latin American countries or in Europe?
This is always such a complex question. We actually talk about this amongst ourselves a lot. Because I think we always have to answer with like this intersectional caveat of one, like, yes, we're Black and also we're American. And yes, we're Black and also we're like a straight presenting couple, like with kids. Like we also have the family dynamic, and a lot of Latin America is very conservative. So I think just seeing us as a family immediately is like ticking like boxes for people that like may or may not otherwise feel a way about us. I would say in Latin America, I've never been anywhere and felt uncomfortable. I've never been anywhere in Latin America and felt racially targeted or profiled. I think those people in Playa del Carmen that wanted to like take pictures with us that one time was weird when Whitley was a baby.
Oh yeah, they were.
That was strange.
We've had that in Mexico when the kids are young. They're just like, people have asked to touch our hair, their hair, the kids' hair.
Yeah.
But it was never like anything like
malicious.
Right.
Yeah, I think too, and because then there's some places too, when we were in Brazil, I think when you're in Brazil, regardless of what shade you are, you're just going to blend in a little bit more, just because that's how they're set up. I don't think we got any of that in Brazil either.
No, but here in Italy, and I already came in with like the notion of like Italy may be a little more racist, right?
That's what we hear. Word on the street.
Yeah, Italy and Spain is what I keep hearing. And so like I had my guard up. And then recently this weekend, there was the guy on the train.
Oh, I forgot about train guy.
Yeah, so Courtney is just talking on the train like she does.
We're with the kids.
And we were with the kids. It was all of us together. And some guy just starts shushing Courtney.
Me, a grown adult.
Yeah.
He made eye contact.
Starts shushing her. And before I can even like turn around to like see who it is, like there's another guy on the train, an Italian guy, who's just like, what's the problem? Like, is there a problem here? Do you have a problem? And the shushing guy sat back down and he didn't say anything the rest of the trip. So I think that if there are racists and bigots here, there are a lot of people also that are like against it as well. So like, it felt like that was a racially targeted thing on the train.
Yeah, I don't know what else that would be.
Yeah, but there was somebody there like before like I could even step in. He was just like, he kind of shut it down. And then he came up to us afterwards and he's like, I hope you enjoy your time here. Like, don't pay him any attention. Like, you know, Tuscany's an amazing place. And he was checking on us like really well.
Yeah. So I think the other thing in Europe primarily that we have noticed is that intersection of like racism and like xenophobia. So I think we noticed this in Spain too, and even in Portugal, I've heard of this thing of like, they don't want African immigrants coming into their cities. And I think, I don't know, we kind of go back and forth on this because sometimes I'm like, can they look at me and tell that I'm not like African, like from Africa? And it's like, maybe yes, maybe no. But the question is, does that inform how they treat us? Does that inform how they look at us? The second that, you know, I speak or they assume where we're from, are you treating me better than you would if I were actually like from the continent? And we've seen so many Black people here in Italy, I think primarily Nigerian people. And then I think there's a decent like Senegalese pop. Like I got my hair braided while we were here. We've had like Nigerian food, we've got my Senegalese restaurants. And so I wonder how much of that, like the man on the train is looking at me and he's like, this is some, Nigerian immigrant woman who's trying to take over my country or whatever. He's one, and how much of it is it just like she's Black? I think that being American, sometimes we don't do the best job at separating out the American identity from the Black identity, from like where we fit in the African diaspora. And so I always just try to caveat the, like race questions with that, because I think it's very complex.
Yeah. The only experience I've had in Italy around that kind of thing is just people being short, like servers, not all servers, just like one or two, or workers in the airport or workers in the train station, where you're waiting to be serviced, or like you have a question, you're waiting for them to pause their own conversations, and they never do. And I'm like, excuse me, hi. And I think that's just cultural. I really think, because I don't even think they looked at me. I think it's just cultural, and they're like, we'll get to you later, kind of thing. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I agree. Because I was in London. I don't know if it was last time or the time before I went, but I was in London. I walked into the coffee shop and the woman was not paying me any mind. And then I walk up to the counter and she's still not paying me any mind. And then finally I'm like, hi. And she's like, hey, what do you want? And I'm just like, whoa, no, hello, no, how are you? What do you have? Like, nothing. We're just getting straight to it. Okay, I'll take a flat white with oat milk. And I do think that's something too that's very European, because again, it's like that small talk aspect of it, and especially I'm Southern, so I'm going to small talk all day. I'm going to small talk on the front end and the back end. But yeah, you kind of just don't know how much of it is because I look the way I do, and how much of it is because you are from where you're from.
Yeah, you'll never know, I guess. So how challenging has it been to maintain your friendships and family relationships back in the US? You said that they come to visit you, but do you still converse with them regularly? Do your friends come also?
Yeah, I think, well, Justin and I have different communication styles is the first thing. So I'm very much a texter. I don't have an issue keeping up with people like that. So I have like 3 group chats of friends. I'm talking to them every day. I'm talking to them all day, every day. We do a lot of like FaceTiming for our parents and my sister, my dad, and things like that. So I haven't felt any of my friendships falter. But I also think that even before moving, we had small kids, and when you have small kids, you're in this like bubble of like parenting and whatnot. So I think any of the friendships that weren't sort of strong enough to stand the test of time probably fell by the wayside like the second that we decided to like have kids anyway. I haven't felt a decline, but also I know that it's important to consciously check in with people and make sure that you're still finding time to connect with them.
Very true.
Yeah, I think like Courtney said, I am much more of like a I'll see you in person or caller person, like friend. So I felt like in the beginning I was just like, well, if I'm not seeing my friends all the time, like we're not going to maintain that friendship. But it's funny because I ended up connecting more and keeping stronger bonds with people I never really expected to, by just keeping up through text or ones who were interested in my travels. Mm-hmm. And then family, yeah, we FaceTime every day.
Like Adrian's met you in like 3 countries by now too.
Yeah, so friends who do have interest in travel, like those are really the friends I've kind of maintained.
And we've made new friends along the way. That's the other thing, especially other people that are out here living the way that we are. You set a play date up in Brazil or a play date up in Mexico City, and the kids hit it off. And now all of a sudden you're, having phone calls. Oh, what's it like in Kenya? Oh, I don't know. We might move to Italy, And so I think they, you make new friendships, and those grow and develop as well alongside the ones that you've kept.
So with the new friendships, are they native people, or are they expats or nomads like yourself?
I think they're all nomads, and I think that is one goal that I would love to make more like native friends wherever we go. I think it's been hard with kids, But yeah, most of the friends we've made have been other travelers.
Makes sense. Okay, so has the language barrier been difficult in either place?
Not so much in Spanish-speaking countries,
Mhm.
just because I have a foundation in Spanish anyway, and you've picked it up. You can do
Yeah.
more than just order food nowadays.
Yeah, I knew zero Spanish before going to Mexico, and so after the year is up, I'm like, okay, I can understand like basic conversations. I can order my food. I can ask directions. And then Italy, it's like almost everybody here speaks English.
It still blows my mind.
Yeah.
I know people talk a lot about, Americans being so monolingual and you can't just show up places and expect people to speak your language. And I get that. I'm so mind blown though, because it's like they tell you everyone doesn't speak English. And then, it's been my experience that like there are a lot of people that do speak English though. Like I've been trying to sort of struggle through some Italian because again, like it's sort of similar to Spanish and people just stop me. And they're just like, I just speak English. Like, let's not do this. But when we were in Brazil,
Yeah, Brazil is tough.
I was fighting for my life with that Portuguese. And I thought that, again, because I can speak Spanish, that the Portuguese would come to me. I thought I'd cross into Brazilian airspace and it would just wash over, and I'd be able to do it. That is not what happened. That's not at all what happened.
And how long were you in Brazil?
We were there for 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So challenging, but it helps that you speak Spanish, right? So you wake up and it's a Tuesday morning. What does your day typically look like?
I think it's different. So in the Americas, since we were on East Coast time back there in Mexico, it was wake up, we would take the kids to school, come back home, and I would like rush to sit down to work. We'd probably go have lunch together, our street taco guys. We'd go see our guys.
Taco guys.
And maybe I'd go to the gym. I would try to. And then we'd pick up the kids from school and then do like our evening routine, which is like the park or a little cafe, and then get them ready for bed. And then here in Italy, it's the opposite because Courtney's working, so I'm off work. So it's take the kids to school, and then we have like the day to just play or make content or just rest.
Watch Squid Game and take a nap.
We've been watching Squid Game the past week. So
and then from really there, it's nice because we get to go pick up the kids, and then there are other families. So like today, you like took the kids to the park after school. I had a nail appointment, or even just getting to explore like the town that we're in here in Tuscany too. Like it's still just so new and so fresh. It's only been but a few weeks that we get to do that. And again, the kids will run back and forth and they're into the courtyard. They're, riding scooters through the streets, that sort of thing.
So you just said that you worked in Mexico City and now Courtney's working. Is that a thing? Do you guys try to have just one person working so one other person can support more? Or is it just random?
That's what the universe wants. No, that wasn't planned actually. And it's just how it's been set up this past couple of years. So we've talked about being like both employed, double income, and it's a thing where you'd have to really find like childcare, like full time. So we're trying to decide what makes the most sense for us. And we're still trying to figure it out.
Okay. What have you done abroad that you could not have done living in the US?
So many things. I think about all of the beach lunch breaks that I've taken, especially when we were living in Rio. That was my favorite thing, was to step away from the computer. It was like a, I don't know, 5-10, from Livonia, like a 5-10 minute walk to the beach, and get to hang out. The kids would throw around some sand, you would grab like a fresh coconut and then be back to work. So probably my favorite example. And I think the other thing is, even like here, like I said, was like yesterday, we took a pasta class down in Florence. So we were able to get up, drop the kids at school, take the train to Florence, make fresh pasta, have a great time, and then come back and log in afterwards. And then similarly, when I was working, we were in Madrid last year. It was also very similar because, again, with the time zone offset, you just have like the day to like play and hang out and explore. And you don't have to like lock in and focus on work until later in the afternoon, like 2, 3 o'clock. So those are probably the top ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I can honestly say the high-speed train in Europe is life-changing. We used it even during our time in Spain and now in our time in Italy. But in Spain, we went from like Madrid, Barcelona, down to Sevilla and Malaga, and then we took a $30 flight to Morocco,
Oh,
and then
wow.
came back to Spain like all within what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was like 2 years. Yeah, it was a
And
madness.
I don't think you can do that in the US. I know we have there's Amtrak, but there's just not that much infrastructure for getting around like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no $30 flights either to other
Right.
countries.
Not even on Spirit.
What
is a must-try dish in Italy?
Go to the African restaurants.
What?
That's what I'm gonna say. No, I'm just gonna say it. Go to the African restaurants. I had life-changing Senegalese food the other day. And when I say life-changing, I'm not even being dramatic. I had life-changing Senegalese food the other day. Because especially for so many of us, even if you're in the US, unless you're in like a major city that has just a large African population, the only time we've really gotten to explore and experience African food like this is when we've been in Europe, because of the immigrants that live here from Africa. I'll leave the Italian food to you. You're the pasta guy.
No, I don't know the names. That's the problem. I literally asked the woman at the cafe, what's the name of this pie? It's like that tart I keep ordering. I still don't know it.
There's that one. It's like a pepe casio.
Cashew e pepe.
That one.
Cashew e pepe.
Yeah, that one. I think that was the one we had in Rome.
Mm-hmm.
Put truffles on top. That was really good.
That's one of our favorites. I mean, the pasta and the pizza, I think just order as much as you can. But yeah, we are only on week 3, so we are still searching for like that mind-blowing Italian meal to change our life.
So you went to Florence. Did you try? There's like a sandwich shop there, something al antico benayo, something like that. It's delicious. Like if you ever get to go, you could just YouTube it and just like sandwich shop or panini shop in Florence. It's so amazing.
I want to. We've been getting the focaccia every day. So you want to talk all that stuff about eating the focaccia every day.
The focaccia's from the grocery store, though.
I had the one from the bakery.
Oh, how was that?
It's better. Sandwich. It's even better. Like, we started eating the bread. Yeah, we started eating the bread. And we're just like, we can't get enough of it.
Are you guys gonna stay in Italy, or like after the 3 months is over, you think you're gonna stay in Italy or another location in Europe?
I don't know. I think the time zone is not. I'm not having the best time on the time zone this time. I don't know why it was different the last time that I worked European hours, but I think we're gonna head back to the Americas. We have our eyes on South America again. So Boundless Life actually has a cohort in Uruguay, in La Barra, and we're looking at that, and then also looking at Buenos Aires, and then also thinking about doing more of like coastal Brazil. So Rio de Janeiro is my favorite place in the whole entire world, hands down. It clears every time. So heading back to Rio, checking out like Salvador Bahia and just some other places. So probably South America, but also anytime I tell someone where I'm going to be, I'm like, don't hold me to it. I have no idea. I could wind up in Malaysia. Who knows?
What did you like about Rio so much?
Oh, well, the weather's perfect. The scenery is gorgeous. The beaches are magnificent. The food is fantastic. The people are warm. And then also I think we just really felt great there. I think one thing that living in so many different places like will really show you is there are certain places where you just feel better. And whether that's like, woo or astrophotography or energy or like whatever it is, like there are certain places where you're just like, wow, I really feel like my best self here. In Rio de Janeiro, I really felt like my best self. And like Justin said before, it's like you lose weight, your skin clears up, like there are just obvious signs that you're thriving. So yeah, love Rio.
Have you guys been to Africa?
We've been to Morocco.
Yeah, we haven't been to anywhere else in Africa.
Which is the other thing, because I'm like, while we're here.
Yeah, because I started talking about that. I'm like, we talked about while we're in Italy or right after Italy, we can go check out Ghana, check out South Africa. We want to go to Senegal and Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just working the time zones, so it's very heavily dependent on work.
And Africa is not as easy to travel through.
Yeah, it's not
as
cheap
other
either.
places. Yeah, it's expensive and it's just a lot. Oops, sorry. Thought I was going to sing his false alarm. Yeah, but it's just a lot. I think we've been talking about doing like a proper like nomad trek through Africa, but between like visas, flights, like vaccinations with the yellow fever and like all that kind of stuff, I think we really just have to sit down and like plan it so that we can like really do it right.
I've heard that it's very expensive to fly from city to city or country to country within Africa. It's like almost cheaper to fly back to the US than it is to fly to other cities that could be like just 2 hours away or something.
Yeah, it's a lot. I've looked because we priced it out. We really want to be able to spend some time on the continent and going through it. It's just, it's the logistics of it all that makes it such a nightmare.
So what do you guys have to say to people who are here in the US and who are considering this life abroad, but for whatever reason, like family may be telling them not to do it, or work, they don't have remote work, or they don't even understand how to do it, or they have a partner that doesn't want to go? Like, what do you say to these families?
Every obstacle that you are currently facing can be cleared. There is always a solution out there to do something if you are meant to and you really want to do that thing. And I know that it's easier said than done, but we have been doing this ourselves for 3+ years now, and we've met so many people that have found ways to do the same thing. So whether the job won't let you go and you have to employ yourself or get a new job or learn a skill that allows you to freelance or whatever, like, you can make that happen. The family doesn't want you to go, tell them to get passports and come visit you. That's not your problem. You know what I mean? Like, I think that oftentimes we think that the obstacles and the hurdles are bigger than they actually are. But whatever it is that's hindering you, I can almost guarantee you there's someone out there who's cleared that hurdle.
Yeah, and I can just say, like, get out there and experience it. Like, just do a test run. Like, I think a lot of people may go on trips, but they're not traveling. They're just vacationing at an all-inclusive resort and never really getting to experience what traveling feels like. So I would say just get out there, even if it's by yourself, or take your best friend with you, or join one of those like group trips. There's so many of them these days. And see like a place that you've had your eye on. And I think that will inspire you to feel like once you get there, you're like, okay, I really want to continue doing this. Like, let me figure out how to get the remote job, or how to start my own business, because that's really the biggest obstacle is like, how can I make money while being abroad? And I think if you could figure that part out, then you're going to live your best life.
Yeah.
Best life. Well, Justin and Courtney, thank you so much for talking to us. I'm definitely following you on Instagram and on YouTube, following your travels through Italy and just all your adventures, your African food. I saw you posted a picture of it. I was like, wow, I didn't try that. I got to try that. Yeah. So thank you again. And here's your YouTube channel again for anybody who is watching. Oh, Family Adventures.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tiffanie, for having us.
Yeah. And I will say, I know we talked about Boundless quite a bit. If anyone is considering a cohort, you can use the code ORGIAS, ORGIAS. That'll save you 400 euros on the cohort if you decide to go. And also our DMs are open for anyone that has any questions or wants any more perspective.
How did you spell it again? OR?
ORGIAS. I can put it in the chat.
So that's the code there for $400 off. Okay. Thank you. And until next time.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us.
Bye.
Bye.